So when I got that message, I phoned him back, got his voicemail, left a message. I hung up. Shortly after, I got a call from Detective Reese from the Lapeer State Police.
And that was somebody from the task force then?
Correct. I later learned that.
About what time is this call on Monday that you finally made connection with Reese?
Probably between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning.
What happens after the phone call?
He asked if he could come to my house and talk to me. I told him I was at work. He asked where work was. I described it, and he said, well, we're in Armada. We could be there in 10 minutes. Could you speak with us? I said, sure. Yeah.
So they came out to
Romeo Rim, yeah.
And did you meet with them like in a conference room or something?
Yes, I got a conference room, and we met in there.
What information did you give to them at that time?
Both Detective Reese and Detective Nance asked me various questions. Detective Nance was the recorder, if you will. He was taking the notes. I remember they took a few pages of notes. We spoke for some time. It was at least an hour. And they asked me questions about what time I was riding the trail, where on the trail, was I alone, did I see anything unusual. I told them about the motorcycle, and they wanted to know approximately what time. And I told them in approximate terms, and I said, well, wait a minute. And I pulled my cell phone out of my pocket. I said, I can tell you exactly. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, the Sport app. I turned it on and put it on the table, and I shared with them out of the diary, Thursday's ride.
So pretty much what we saw,
yes.
How it goes back and forth.
And so Detective Reese said, can I take pictures of those different panels? And I said, actually, if you'd like, I don't have an account set up, but I can set up an account. It's more for sharing with people, which I do it for myself. I don't share on workouts. I set up a username and a password, and then phoned him and gave him that.
And so they would have.
So they could have access to it, right, at the website.
Did you give him a physical description at that time?
I gave him a physical description of the defendant and the motorcycle that he was on.
At the time that you were talking to them, did you tell the officers about the helmet and about the facial features that you observed?
I did.
Did you tell them at that point, if you ask me later on, I will be able to identify that person? Did that ever come up?
No, it did not. No.
At the end of this conversation, you gave your description, what you told the jury. You let them see your app. They asked you a variety of questions. How does the meeting, I guess, end? Is there an agreement to get together again later, or is that just over at that moment?
Well, I had to read through the notes, and anything that was inaccurate, I would make a correction and then initial there, and then sign and date the overall statement, I guess I'd call it. So then they asked me where I'd be later that day and the next day. So I told them I had golf league Monday night, that night, and on Tuesday I'd be traveling in my car down to Indiana to a customer, but feel free to call me, okay? So I got a call that evening around a little after 6. I actually didn't go play golf. I got what I was preparing for the next day for a customer visit. I didn't get done till late. I'd called my partner and told him I won't be there. So I was just about turning on my road, and Detective Reese had called, and he said, where are you? I said, well, we're supposed to be golfing, remember, right? So anyhow, he asked if we could meet at the trail and walk it.
Did you meet him at the trail?
I did.
Where at the trail did you first meet up?
When they interviewed me, I thought that I had seen what I've described between Pitt and Omo Road. So we parked at Pitt Road, and the three of us walked the trail to the west.
So you walked west on the Macomb Orchard Trail from Pitt to Omo?
Correct.
Was there something about that that then struck you about that part of the path?
Yes, I saw a couple transitions of what I saw in terms of the light foliage, sunlight, and some dark foliage, but didn't point anything out for certain. Just paused and looked, and then continued walking. And we got to Omo Road, and I said, I don't see it back there. Can we continue walking? And Detective Reese said yes.
And then what section did you walk next?
We walked from Omo Road up to what I learned is the Liberty Trail.
Which would be, again, continuing to head west.
Correct.
What is it now when you're on that section that, I guess, calls to you?
The power lines, where they go from parallel to crossing over, and then the foliage. It was about the same time of day at that point. It was sunny, blue sky, and so the background was similar, and I could see where the motorcycle was, and then I walked up further and I said, this is what I meant by the tunnel of trees and the darkness and where I saw the girl I saw.
At the time that you're talking to them the first time, I guess percentage-wise, how certain are you that that was the right location?
85%, I think I told them.
Did you go back there on your own any time after that?
I did.
When was that?
Tuesday evening.
Did anybody ask you to do that?
No.
Why did you do it?
I wanted to cover the trail. We were walking and talking when I said this is it. I wanted to cover that area in the perspective that I did Thursday. So I was on my bike helmet, same glasses, same speed, and going by and a little bit forward for the handlebars and looking over at it.
After you did it the second time, how certain are you that you have the correct location?
100%.
When you're talking to the officers, when you're out there on that path on Monday, are you shown where the body was found?
No.
Is there any indication on that path where the body was found?
No, no indication.
You were shown where the Liberty Trail was. The jury has seen photographs of it. It looks like it's sort of a clear, rocky area that leads into that back subdivision. Were there any items placed there for recognition of any type?
Nothing. In fact, I didn't know it was the Liberty Trail. We walked past that, and Reese said he was looking for a trail. We ended up using it just to cut over to tell Reese, come pick us up over there. It's a shorter walk than going all the way to town. That's the only reason it came up.
Okay. Did there come a point in time when you were able to identify somebody for you to say, yeah, that's the person I saw? How did that come about? Because were you shown a lineup by the police?
I was not.
Okay. Were you shown a composite by the police?
I was not.
You're talking to them on Monday now, which is the 24th, 25th, the 28th of July. And had you looked on the news to see a composite?
No composite. A colleague at work said, hey, look at this. This is a possible suspect. Now,
what is he asking you to look at?
It was a picture of a person with a description.
Okay. And was that in the newspaper?
It was online on a news site, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you look at it?
I did.
Okay, and what did you see?
I said, that's not him. The guy was very full-faced and heavy, and none of the features, the more hard features didn't make sense. It was a little more rounded face, and I just said that's not him.
What date was that, if we can compare to Monday when you were with the officers, and Tuesday when you rode the trail by yourself?
That would have been probably Monday.
Monday?
Yeah.
Was there a time you saw another image?
Yes.
What was that?
I was in my kitchen, and had my laptop. My wife was preparing some dinner, and I was just searching news, and the picture came up of the defendant.
So you saw it on the computer at that point?
Yes.
Okay. And it was associated with an arrest?
Correct.
Okay. What is it that you saw in that photograph of the defendant?
The eyes and the facial features that I described.
What did you think to yourself?
out loud, I just said, "Holy cow, that's the guy." And my wife just said, "What?" And I said, "They've got the correct guy."
Do you do anything with that information?
Showed my wife. I did tell, I think it was Detective MacArthur, that the guy you have arrested is the guy I saw on the motorcycle on the trail.
How long was that after you saw the image on the computer?
I believe she called me to talk about setting up meetings, a second meeting to talk about what I had witnessed.
And that would have been about how long after that Monday meeting, the 28th of July?
I'm not certain.
We know, based on facts presented, he was arrested on July 30th, which was that Wednesday. Any idea, week later, weeks later, month later, days later?
I don't even think it was that week, so it would have been a week or so later.
So you didn't pick up the phone and call the police to tell them anything at that point?
No.
Did you call the media?
No.
I heard an opening statement that the witnesses in this case seeking attention. Are you seeking attention?
No, I'd rather not be here.
Is this something you're doing because you wanted to be involved in this really big case?
No.
Were you shown a lineup at any time?
I was not.
And as you sit here today, you're comfortable with your identification of Mr. Vancallis?
Correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Good afternoon, Mr. McKenna.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to ask you some things just so that I make sure that we've got some of the things that we agree on out of the way. As far as the description you gave, you've consistently given a description that this person was in their teens or very early 20s. Is that correct?
Correct. I did do that during my initial interview and confirmed that, yes.
Okay. And you also have indicated, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this person was wearing a helmet that had a face shield and the face shield was down when you saw them, correct?
I said that the helmet was a full helmet with a face shield. That was clear.
Okay. Was the face shield down or up? Do you remember?
I don't recall if it was down or up.
I'm sorry?
I don't recall if it was down or up.
Okay. Do you recall one time saying that it was down and another time saying it was up? Was that possible or no?
I doubt it.
Okay. Do you remember testifying in this matter?
Testifying in what matter?
In this matter here at Judge LeDuc's out in Romeo?
Yes.
Okay. And that would have been around December 15th or 16th of 2014, correct?
I believe so, yes.
I'm going to ask you some questions that are from that transcript of that exam, and I want you to tell me if they refresh your recollection, okay? So you're saying that this individual that you saw on the motorcycle had the helmet on, correct?
Correct. I would ask if he's going to impeach him, be allowed to see the statement first, so he can say, yes, it does, it is or isn't what I said.
Okay. Sure. May I?
The highlighted?
You could read everything, but...
What page, Mr. Sheik?
I'm sorry. Page 147 and 146.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What would you like me to do?
Well, first of all, read it. Does it refresh your recollection? reviewed page 146 and 147 of the preliminary examination transcripts. Does that refresh your recollection?
Repeat the question, please.
Okay.
Just the question part.
Okay. After having reviewed page 146, page 147 of the district court preliminary examination transcripts, has that refreshed your recollection as to your answers?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall now that you said that the shield was down?
I said possibly.
Would you like
Or
to-
I believe, right? I don't think I said it was absolutely down. I think it was stated.
So do you think that the court reporter messed up when they wrote, I believe it was down?
I doubt that.
What is your definition of I believe it was down? If that's what you said, what would be
My
your-
recollection that the facial was clear, right?
Right.
And that I could see the facial hair and his eyes.
Okay, but sir, this is important because we're talking about your testimony here. So was the shield down? Was it not down? Are you standing by what you said at the exam, or are you saying something different today? Was the face shield down or up?
I don't recall.
Do you recall now, after having seen this, that you, at least at the examination, which was over a year ago, you indicated, I believe it was down?
The reason I believe
Sir,
that...
that's not what I asked
Yeah.
you. What I asked you was, at the examination, after having reviewed this, do you recall stating an answer to that question, was it up or down, that I believe it was down?
I believed it was down because I knew it was...
Sir, all I'm asking you is, are those the words that you stated to the best of your recollection?
I'm going to object to the tone. He's giving him an answer. He's not letting him finish the answer. If he disagrees with the answer, that's
He's
one
not
thing.
giving the answer. The answer is quite clear. At the time that preliminary examination took place, sir, did you say that the shield was down?
I said I believed it was down.
Okay. Thank you, sir. About how long did you see this individual in terms of time when you passed by this individual?
When I passed down, or how long did I see?
How long did you see this individual
Okay.
altogether?
I saw the headlight for over 3 minutes.
Okay. How long did you see the individual?
On the motorcycle for about a minute.
And how long did you see the person when you got, how close is the closest you got to them?
The closest I got was about 6 feet.
If I were to show you in the transcripts that you said 8 feet a couple of times, would that be appropriate, or would you like to refresh your recollection? Or would you?
That's not necessary. 6 to 8 feet.
Okay. So if we split the difference, can we just say 7? Is that fair?
You can say 7. Yeah.
What would you like to say? Would you like to say 6, 7, 8? You tell me.
6 to 8.
6 to 8. No, just so we're not wasting a lot of the jury's time, can we just say 7 just to be safe? That's halfway between 6 and 7, isn't it usually?
It always is, yes.
Always is, okay. Would you give me an indication of the time? Let's do it another way. I'm going to start walking towards you. Tell me to stop at the point when you got as close as you got to this individual, okay?
Do I have to sit here?
You can
It's a little hard to see.
do whatever makes it easier for you to see, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I want to start walking towards you.
There.
One here.
Just, no, you stepped back.
I'm sorry?
You stepped back.
I stepped back.
You were like this. Okay.
What do you want me? You want me to move up a little
Take
bit?
a small step forward.
Forward?
Yeah, very good. Perfect.
Is that perfect? Mr. Cataldo, would you say this is, what, 6 or 7 feet?
I'd say 6 feet.
6 feet. Is that about the distance that you
Yes.
recall? Okay. Now, in terms of time, forget everything else. Forget the minute you saw the person on the motorcycle. How long did you see this person at this distance? Approximately.
A couple of seconds.
So, you walked past him, or you went past him, correct? Could you do that so the jury can get an idea how long? I'll pretend I'm that individual. Was he stationary?
He was stationary.
Okay, I'll be stationary, so show the jury how long it took, how long a glance you got at this individual.
How would you like me to demonstrate that?
Well, you went past him, right, or no?
I did go past him.
Okay, so then just, I'll stand here stationary like you indicated he was stationary, and you passed me like you said you were passing.
Let's position then.
I'm sorry?
Exactly what you're doing is what I saw. He was facing me,
Okay.
and as I'm riding by, we're both engaged until I get past, and I look, and then I go.
Okay. So you were going that way and he's going this way, he's not.
That's not true.
Okay, let's just put me in the place where the cyclist was.
Okay. As I testified earlier.
Well, face that way. Let's not worry about you testifying earlier. Let's put you in this place, okay? Face whatever way you need to. Shift your body, your shoulders, whatever you got to do.
We're facing each other.
Okay.
For approximately a minute. Right? And as I get closer, the angle changes and the distance changes.
Okay.
And as I get alongside, it's approximately 6 feet. That we're looking directly at each other. Go past. Here, and then I look away and continue.
So now I want you to do that in real time. Walk, go by as quickly as you would have in real time. So the jury can get a feel for the time.
I don't think you can go 17 miles an hour.
That's fast too, 17 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just so the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are clear, at this point you were going about 17 miles an hour?
I averaged on that day 18 mile an hour. I would have been going slower based on him sitting there. Right? I testified that I was a little nervous that he may pull out.
Well, he wasn't exactly in your path, was he?
He was close enough that should he move, we would collide.
That would have made you nervous.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, if I may, I would like to have my assistant put on the helmet and stand at that distance so we can... The helmet is already introduced in the evidence. May I do that without him saying anything?
Your Honor, I guess my objection is calling him an assistant. I guess my second objection.
Now, that's another issue we'll need to discuss, because I didn't know you had an assistant, but okay.
We have a photograph of Mr. Vancallis in the helmet. We're talking about Mr. Vancallis having been identified. Instead of using somebody different, why don't we use the photograph of Mr. Vancallis, or have Mr. Vancallis put the helmet on since he's in court and,
I don't want to do that, Your Honor. I think Mr. Cataldo was just trying to add to his defense. That's all I want to show.
The realism would be to put the witness on the bicycle and put the helmet on Mr. Vancallis. You see, that would be what is contended happened. Okay. You want to put a totally different person of different stature and height inside of a helmet to do this. We can use Mr. Vancallis if you'd like. We need to take a break.
Okay, maybe take a break?
Yeah, we'll take a break.
All rise for the jury.
What is he doing? I don't understand. Is he sitting here because he's helping you pro bono? Because I'm not paying him.
Your Honor, as an expert, he is still an expert in the field that he's an expert in, by my way of thinking, and his main purpose is going to be to help me in cross-examine Special Agent Hess, as he did with Special Agent Zett.
He's not needed for here. He's not needed for all of these other proceedings, which I don't understand why he's been here all this time, because the people of Macomb County are not going to get a bill. You better not present me with a bill for $15,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Because he is not necessary to be sitting next to you, listening to the testimony, and I'm sorry, sir, you have no idea what I'm talking about, and I apologize. No reason to be sitting here through the testimony of witnesses that have nothing to do with cell phones.
Your Honor, since you brought this up, I would like the record to be very clear. When I first came, I asked for a cell phone expert because I did not understand that technology. I made that very clear to the prosecution. The court said that I could obtain a cell phone expert. When I did, the court wanted to know how much it would cost to get him. I said I could not say because it depends on how much. Initially, we agreed on $2,500. And at that point, Your Honor, I obtained the services of Mr. O'Kelly. Then at that point, somehow the prosecution brought up that in the past he had charged $100,000 or something, and there was some concern brought to this court's attention. Okay. Then at that point on, the court started asking me, ask him for how much is he going to charge. He's not going to get $100,000 from this court in this county, if I recall correctly. So I talked to him and I said, listen, this puts me in a heck of a position because if I'm trying to represent Mr. Vancallis, I can't tell my expert, okay, stop doing research or stop doing work at this point. Because there is a tremendous amount of work here, as you heard from the FBI agents. This was their first time with that Fitbit video and stuff. Even those that are in this profession needed a lot of work to do that. So at that point, Your Honor, if I understand it correctly, we agreed from all sides, that he would be paid a flat fee of $15,000 so you folks wouldn't have any concerns about how much it's going to cost the county, and then I could ask him to do the work that he needed. So I think now to go back and say, okay, we don't want to, I mean, if he wants to be here, and if he's assisting me all that time, it's not costing the county any extra. I don't know how that's
Well, I have an issue
troublesome
now
to anybody.
paying him $15,000 since he's not going to be testifying as an expert. And from what I can tell, he's been in this county for at least the past 2 weeks because I've seen him sitting next to you. I am not paying this gentleman to be sitting next to you to help you do your paperwork, okay? He was hired for a specific purpose. That purpose was to analyze the cell phone data, to be an expert to testify as it relates to the cell phone data. That was it.
And Your Honor, that is
And
exactly...
now you abandon his use as an expert witness because you are not using him as an expert to testify, which cuts a lot of that fee out because he's now been staying in the county at the county's expense for over 2 weeks.
Your Honor,
What? I don't understand for what.
First of all, Your Honor, I did not abandon his services. I still need his services every step of the way when it comes to the technological evidence and testimony.
Well, that's come and it's gone.
I'm sorry?
That has come and that's gone, that testimony.
No, it hasn't, Your Honor.
Well, in these gaps, he's not going to be sitting here during the 2, 4, 5, 6 days of time when he's not needed for witnesses such as this gentleman who have nothing to do with cell phone data.
That's understandable, Your Honor. At the time that Mr. O'Kelly came, he did not know this was an issue. I brought that to his attention and let him know what the court had indicated in terms of payment. He has graciously stayed on to assist me because he's vested in the case. He's not...
All I want to hear was graciously because I'm not paying him.
Well, Your Honor,
I want to make that clear.
I think that the $15,000 that we agreed upon should be paid.
No, I want a bill. I want to see exactly what I'm paying him for now because I don't find and I can't see how it's going to equate to $15,000.
Well, Your Honor, first of all, he's done a lot of work already, behind the
I
scenes
just
to help
want
you
to make it
prepare.
clear. We will argue about this bill later because I do not want to tie my jury up, but I am not paying this gentleman to sit next to you during non-expert testimony and non-cell phone testimony to evaluate everyone else to help you.
And I've not asked you one single penny to pay for that, Your Honor.
Well,
When have I asked you?
Not yet. You haven't. But
No, and I have no
want to make it
intention of,
clear
Your
to
Honor.
Your witness, or your whoever he is now, your assistant, that he's not being paid to assist you in anything other than testimony as it relates to cell phones.
Okay,
And
and
he's
Your
not
Honor,
being paid to be sitting in this county for 2 continuous weeks and not working on looking at cell phone documents. So I just want to make sure he understands that. I am going to go through his bill with a fine-tooth comb. It may not be $15,000. That was your cap at $15,000. It wasn't a guarantee he was going to get paid $15,000 to be walking around the streets around Clements.
Your Honor, I would beg to differ. At that point,
We will argue the bill at a future point. I am telling you now, he is not getting paid for anything other than an evaluation of cell phone data and your assistance as the testimonies coming through cell phone experts. That's all I'm saying here. So that he's not going to come up one day with a bill and either sue you or sue this county because I am not approving anything. Above 15 to start with, but he may be paid less than 15 for his actual work once I evaluate the bill. So you might want to think about whether or not he wants to continue staying here in the county helping you with lay testimony. Because I'm not paying him. That's clear. Now let's get back to where we were with the trial. You want to put a helmet on your assistant, or do you want to put it on Mr. Vancallis?
I would prefer to put it on the assistant, Your Honor.
I guess I don't fully understand then, Your Honor. And I'm not trying to barge into his right to cross-examination, but we have the defendant. The defendant has a Fifth Amendment right not to testify, not to make a statement, and that can't be used against him. But he doesn't have a right to prevent his blood from being used, his fingerprints from being taken, from standing up in front of a jury, and from putting a helmet on. What would be the purpose of putting it on a stranger to then try to have the witness say, is that enough for you to recognize him, when it ain't him, it's him?
I agree. I don't understand why you want to use this, your assistant.
Well, that's fine, Your Honor. The reason being to indicate that the witness has said that the face shield was down. That for the few split seconds, if he's going by at 17 miles an hour with a face shield down on a helmet, he's not going to be able to see the facial hair. He's not going to be able to see those
That
things.
doesn't answer my question. Why don't you just use the person who is alleged to be?
I'll do that, Your Honor, if that's what you wish.
Take your shackles off, let's get going. Like a deputy standing at that side of the room. Okay. Come on up. Put the helmet on. Let's go. Bring the jury back out.
Where is the helmet?
Mr. Vancallis, you're not going to get any closer than 6 feet to this witness, okay?
That's fine.
Stay right there. I'm telling you to.
What's the distance you feel comfortable with, sir?
I'm sorry?
What's the distance you feel comfortable with? I'm not sure if you're standing in the exact same spot.
No, it's getting closer.
Get a little closer.
All rise for the jury.
Okay, so we have Mr. Vancallis now with the helmet on. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Buchanan, is this the approximate distance, that the closest that you got to the individual that you saw on the trail?
Yes.
Okay. Deputy, could you step back just a little bit? What I want you to do is step back close to the deputy. I just want you to walk past. I know you can't go 17 miles an hour, just walk past, looking at him. Okay? That's fine. Now go ahead and see. Mr. Vancallis, won't you stay where you are? Just turn this way. Now go sit down and take the helmet off. So you want, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to understand that at going 17 miles an hour for swinging for a split second like that, with a helmet like that, with the sheet, with the screen down, you were able to tell what kind of facial hair and hair he has. Is that right?
He had the helmet up a little bit high. What I saw was more like the picture that's in evidence. You could see the mustache. There's a lot of glare from these lights, but I could still see the eyes and the sharp features that I recognized, yes.
Do you remember indicating in your testimony that the sun was behind him?
Yes.
Okay. Wouldn't that make it that there's not glare on him, but it's actually behind him, correct? Wouldn't the glare be behind him if the sun is behind him?
If there was any glare, it would be on the back of his helmet, is that what you're saying, I guess? Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm saying is these fluorescent lights straight down on that face mask give a little bit of glare. You can see the white, but I could still very well see his eyes and his features, yes.
Would you like me to have him stand up here again with the helmet on, and you tell me if you see his facial hair or if you see his... And we can have him keep tilting the helmet until you feel comfortable. Would you like to do that?
That's your call.
Okay, we'll do that. Please tell me, first you stand at the spot that you feel comfortable with. have him stop at the spot you feel comfortable with. Is that good?
That's fine.
Okay. Now, I'm going to stand next to you if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Do you see any facial hair here, right now? Just, the question is, do you see any facial hair right now from this distance?
Eyebrows.
That's been corrected, okay.
If we're going to make this accurate, he's standing up at full thing. The testimony was he saw him seated on the motorcycle. Well, you can't just put your arms out like you're seated. I mean, there's at least 12 inches difference if, well, you know, if he's sitting or standing on the motorcycle.
Would you like him lower?
I'm taller on my bike as well.
Would you like him lower? Would you like him lower?
Yeah, I would be higher up on my
Just,
bike.
hey, diplomatics, just hold your hands here and just get forward. Tell me when he's going up.
Well, as he goes down, his head goes up, so.
Okay, all right, put on. Is that about the right height? Okay. Now, other than the eyebrows, sir, I mean, you just said that that's facial hair. I think normally facial hair, most people probably understand it, non-engineers, consider it to be mustaches and beards. Do you see any facial hair on this individual?
Other than eyelash and eyebrows, no.
Oh.
I can see some.
Okay. Get back down. Can you tell about the hair on his head, what color it is, what style it is, or what length it is?
No.
Okay. Can you even tell if he has facial hair in terms of mustache or goatee or beard from right here from the angle that you're at?
Not with that helmet position like that.
Well, how would you like the helmet position? Let's do it your way. Where would you like him?
Much like the picture that was in evidence.
Okay. Get that one. Would you like him to lift the helmet up? Would that help you?
Actually,
I mean, not the helmet.
Tilted down.
Just tilt down. Do it the masters. How's that?
I mean the actual helmet itself.
Can you bring the helmet down to the front?
I mean, there's no...
That's my head. I bought it. Whoa, don't say anything.
Can you push the helmet all down in the front?
You can see.
Sir, how do you see any mustache or any resemblance of facial hair?
Yeah, as he moves, I can see his beard.
And that's about the distance. You can see his beard. Can you see his mustache?
I cannot see the mustache in this. Yeah.
But you can see the beard.
Yes, as he's moving around.
Perfectly still and just pivot through the jury. Okay, that's enough, Mr. Vancallis. Would you like to try with the shield down? Because you thought that maybe with the shield down or up, see if that makes a difference. Having seen this, is this any more recollection of the shield is down or up?
No.
Okay. Put the shield down. Put the shield down. Do you see the word radar on there?
I do.
Is it pretty prominent?
Yeah, I need to hear everybody, please, because I don't have any microphones, so keep your voice up.
It's a black helmet with the word Raider written on it, and either could be called white or silver. Is that correct?
Correct.
And, sir, nowhere in your statement did you indicate anywhere that there was any writing on the helmet. You were asked, and you said none, correct?
Correct. I didn't recall.
Okay. And this distance, so it doesn't seem like I'm trying to pull anything fast on the jury, is the distance that you chose, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Buchanan, in anticipation of today's testimony, did you go over any of your prior police reports or any of your other statements to the police?
I did not.
What about your trial transcripts from I'm sorry, not trial transcripts, from the preliminary exam transcripts?
I had read those.
Okay, and who provided you those?
Bill Cataldo.
Okay, and when was that?
That would have been in August or September, October, maybe in advance of the original scheduled trial.
Just so that we're clear, sir, this incident occurred in July of 2014. So when you say August or September, You mean 2015, is that correct?
Yep.
So that's
Yes.
approximately 5 months, 4 or 5 months ago, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you were just talking, you were indicating all the detectives' names. Detective this, you spoke to detective that. You remember all those detectives' names, or did they?
I do.
You do, okay. You did indicate that you saw a composite that was spread out all over the media of the suspect or the person of interest in this case, right, or no?
No.
You never saw the composite?
I saw the composite recently, not back in 2014.
Okay, but you did see Mr. Vancallis on news reports, correct?
I saw his photograph, yes,
Oh.
his arrest photograph.
Okay. And you know that his arrest date was July 30th, right?
Yes.
That was prior to the preliminary examination, correct? Which was in December of 2014.
Correct.
So by the time you testified at exam, you had already seen him on TV more than one time, correct?
Correct.
Just so that we're, again, got these details correct, I think at all times you indicated that this person wore dark pair of pants, correct?
I said
Or
that
jeans?
I said that I thought he had full-length jeans on.
Okay. Do you remember saying at some points that maybe black pants or some dark?
No.
You don't recall that?
No.
Okay, do you remember what you said about the shirt?
I said I remembered white on top, whether it was an undershirt under a shirt or partially white shirt.
Okay, and you remember saying there's no writing on that shirt, right?
I
There was no writing on
I don't
that shirt.
recall writing.
Okay. And if it said an S for Spartans or M for University of Michigan or something like that, do you think that's something that would have stood out?
I'd focus on his face, so no.
So you're not prepared to say if there was in fact any writing on the shirt that you saw, is that correct?
I'm not prepared to say if there was any writing.
But you are standing by the fact that you said that it was a white shirt, correct?
No, incorrect.
Okay, what color is it now?
I recall seeing some white. I recall some white. Either it was a t-shirt underneath or partial white.
You remember giving the description, tall, slender, brown hair, teen or 20s? Does that sound like the description
That's
that you
part
gave?
of the description, yes.
Okay. Just to clarify the record, do you remember saying at the exam that the closest you got was 8 feet?
I thought it was 6 to 8, but
If I were to approach you with the transcript, would that assist you in reflecting, refreshing your recollection?
if it's 8, it's 8. That's fine.
No, so you don't doubt it, correct?
I trust you're telling the truth.
In terms of the helmet, you were asked, what color did you get for the helmet, and you indicated black. Again, as being asked about writing, your answer being, I don't recall any writing. No writing at all, I don't recall any writing. Is that consistent
I
with
didn't
what?
recall any, no.
Okay. You did see the young lady, correct or no, on the trail?
I saw a young girl.
Okay. Did she seem to be in any sort of distress at the time that you saw her?
I didn't have a view to read that. She was walking quickly, as well.
Okay. And I believe you did not see the dog, is that correct?
I don't recall a dog.
Do you remember if the person on the motorcycle was wearing gloves or not?
Wearing,
Gloves or not?
I don't recall.
Were you wearing sunglasses that day?
I was.
Were they prescription or non-prescription?
They're non-prescription.
Non-prescription. Were you wearing the glasses underneath the sunglasses? The prescription glasses?
I don't wear prescription glasses.
You don't, okay. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Nothing further, Your Honor.
As an engineer, you would like to duplicate results by doing the same tests in the same conditions to get the same results?
Correct.
Do you think this demonstration here was anywhere near the same circumstances that you observed Mr. Vancallis on the trail?
No.
Lighting's completely different?
Correct.
Now, I see in the way he was doing it, he's got that helmet chin straight up to his chin so the helmet itself doesn't move, because you asked the helmet to move and it didn't move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
That's correct.
Would you put that photograph back up? I can see, can you see mustache in the photograph that he took of himself with that helmet on? Please step down and take a look at that photograph. Can you see facial hair in that photograph?
Yes, I can.
And that photograph's wearing that same helmet.
Yes.
And that helmet's tilted down, isn't it?
Yes.
And when you saw him on the bike, as opposed to sitting here crouching and looking up, you were higher up on your bike?
Correct.
And he's leaning, hunching forward, seated on his motorcycle?
Correct.
So the distance between you and him and your sight line could not be recreated accurately here?
Correct.
But what you see in that photograph there of him in the helmet, is that what you saw on the trail that day?
That's correct.
I have no further questions.
Follow up, Your Honor. Could you put that picture back up, please, Mr. Keefe? Mr. Buchanan? Do you see the writing on the helmet?
I do.
Okay. Show me where you see facial hair.
Again, eyebrows, eyelashes, under the nose.
And just so the ladies and gentlemen of the jury can see, feel free to come. Okay, don't touch it. I think it's one of those touchscreens. But put your finger to where you see the mustache. Mustache there. Okay. Sit back down. You can take that down. Mr. Cataldo just asked you that in a perfect world, you'd be able to recreate the whole ambiance that was exactly like the situation, and that's what we would prefer if we're trying to recreate a situation, correct?
I don't like the word ambiance, but the conditions, yes.
Surroundings, okay. Now, in this spur of the moment demonstration, first of all, I asked you to pick the distance. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
With myself, as well as with Mr. Vancallis, I told you to tell us when to stop, and we were at the approximate closest distance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I also allowed you to tell me whether to tilt the helmet back, up, or whatever, to your satisfaction. Is that correct?
You asked him to bend down, tilt the helmet, and an attempt to move the helmet, which didn't happen, but yes.
Would you like to do this all over again?
I don't prefer to do that.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Well, what part of your input was not taken into consideration? Well, when you said that you thought that you were higher because you were on a bike and asked Mr. Vancallis to crouch down, he did in fact crouch down, correct?
He did.
And didn't he stop about the time you said that's it? If you remember?
Approximately.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, when you saw that he was stumbling, you asked him to get back up. Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay. So what part of your input was not taken into consideration in the height?
We were approximating. In order to get the exact height, he's on the motorcycle off the side of the path. I'm on my bicycle 6 to 8 feet away.
Okay. And the one thing that we could not recreate, and I don't know how we could, is the 17 miles an hour average speed that you had as you went by, right?
Correct.
you being an engineer, how many seconds would that give you a chance to see somebody? If you take 17 miles an hour divided by how many seconds are in a minute, 60, and what do you get? Do you have any idea?
I don't.
Thank you. Oh, wait, hang on one second. Could you put that picture back up of the helmet, please? With Mr. Vancallis in it. Mr. Buchanan, could you step over here for a second? Yes. Do you know anything about the circumstances of what this picture was taken in?
I do not.
Do you know if it was taken at eye level, below eye level, from below, from top, or anything like that? From looking at the picture. Do you know?
I understand the perspective between my height and that picture, yes.
Sir, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm going to ask you specific
no, I
questions
could not.
only about this picture,
I could
okay?
not.
Okay. So you don't know what the lighting conditions were, correct?
That's correct.
You don't know if this was taken at eye level, above, or below, correct? This particular picture.
To me, it appears that it was taken slightly above his eye level.
Okay. And do you know if it was taken when Mr. Vancallis seated on a bike or not seated on a bike?
I can't tell that.
Could you tell if the person that took the picture was seated or standing up?
I can't tell that.
Thank you. Nothing further. Thank you,
Can you
Mr.
tell that's
Buchanan.
his face?
Pardon me?
Can you tell that's his face?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
How can you tell that's his face when you saw him ride by at 17 miles an hour, just like this?
I was looking at his face for a minute and spent seconds within close proximity.
But you didn't see the Raiders, right?
I wasn't looking at the radar.
So something just that day made you say, I'm going to look at the little bit of face that I can see for that split second. Is that what you
I
told
was looking him right in the eyes. I would normally do that, yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. No further
Thank you,
directions.
sir, you're excused.
Thank you.
May we approach very quickly?